It's 7 p.m. on the evening of D-Day. With two comrades, Glenn Dickin of the Regina Rifles approaches the church of Fontaine-Henri inland from the Normandy beaches. They cannot know that the peaceful church tower is in the firing line between the beach and the inland defences. They approach the church. They can turn either way. To the right, the cemetery. To the left, more ancient graves. The three Canadians turn left onto the flagstones beneath the church tower. What happens next is recalled in a letter written to Glenn Dickin's mother by Graham Jamieson, the regimental chaplain.
Dear Mrs. Dickin, I hope that Glenn has mentioned his padre in his letters home, so that you may feel to some extent at least you know me. For my expression of sympathy is a very personal one, knowing Glenn as I have done ever since he joined the regiment overseas. With Major Peters and Rifleman Kennedy, he went on the evening of the 6th of June to the top of a hill next to a church to spy out the enemy positions in that particular area. Within a few minutes of their arrival, they were heavily shelled by enemy artillery. Small comfort though it be, I can assure you that Glenn could not have suffered. He was killed instantly. When I went to find him the following morning, I am at a loss for words to convey what I want to. All three were completely covered with flowers. The French civilians, overjoyed to see our Army of Liberation, had expressed their feelings by lavishing flowers on the first to fall in their little village. I am enclosing a small piece of the French tricolor ribbon, used to tie the sheaf of flowers on the grave. I ask their permission to send it to you. May God bless you all, and all Glenn's family and friends. Please convey my sympathy to them all. Very sincerely, Graham M. Jamieson.
At Sainte-Mère-Église, the 82nd Airborne is still under fire. Bill Tucker is lucky to be alive.
By now, things are really humming. There's firefighting all around us. German prisoners are being brought in, and they all seem very proud or arrogant. It now seems apparent to all of us that we're surrounded. There's an outhouse or shack about 15 yards to my left, and someone is crawling around the side of it. It certainly is a German.
I looked to the left, and I saw this guy crawling, and it seemed to me that I could see the outline of his helmet, but it wasn't one of our guys.
And then he comes out in front of it and keeps crawling towards me. I raise my carbine, pull the trigger, the bolt goes halfway forward, and stops. It's completely clogged up. This gives me an instant of terror. And while I'm working on the bolt, I guess the German hears and takes off.
From then on, I never would use a magazine-fed gun. I got rid of it and swapped it for a rifle. So much for the German to get away.
As the day draws to a close, against all odds, the Stars and Stripes still flies over Sainte-Mère-Église. German resistance has been tougher than anyone anticipated, but the American paratroopers have held out.
So how did I feel? I felt worn out, apprehensive as to what was going on at the beach and what our next job was. I always was apprehensive about the next job. I'd like to be told what the hell I'm gonna do.
Although nowhere have the Allies penetrated more than 10 miles inland, the Normandy front stretches for 50 miles and is secure. More than 150,000 men are safely ashore at a cost of 10,000 casualties, only half the numbers that Churchill had feared.
I thank God for having survived. And on the day of the liberation, which was the most beautiful day of my life, I thought of all my friends who had not that luck and who were still in concentration camp or who had been shot during the German occupation.
There is no let-up in Juan Pujol's deception effort. Tonight he speaks, with an appropriate note of caution, of Allied soldiers preparing to sail from Scotland for a second invasion somewhere to the north.
I recommend you pass on this information to Berlin with all reserve, as in spite of the fact that the agent speculated these troops were en route to embark at the Clyde, he has not convinced me, and therefore I reserve all advice until I'm better acquainted with the facts.
For weeks after D-Day, the Germans still believe a further large-scale assault is coming in Calais. In Norway, the 18 German divisions wait until the end of the war for an Allied assault that never arrives. When dawn breaks on June the 7th, D-Day +1, another huge and irresistible wave of invading troops will come ashore on the Normandy beaches. The long road to Berlin lies ahead. For 6 weeks after D-Day, Sonia D'Artois and Sidney Hudson carried out numerous sabotage missions against German telephone lines and cables. Only half of Bill Tucker's comrades made it home, among the highest percentage of casualties of all Americans. Today he still lives in Massachusetts, but is known and loved in Sainte-Mère-Église.
I can't write upside down. Thank you very much.
Walter Schwender continued to write blithe letters home until he was killed later in 1944 when fighting in France. Cliff Morris lives in Lancing, England. This is the first time his D-Day diary has been made public. André Heinz still lives in the same street in Caen. His crystal radio set is now a museum piece. James Stagg became president of the Royal Meteorological Society. He died in 1975. Admiral Sir Bertram Ramsay was killed before the war ended in an aircraft accident in France. Juan Pujol was given the MBE in 1944, having already been awarded the Iron Cross by Germany for his supposedly reliable intelligence reports. He died in Venezuela in 1988. Glenn Dickin's body was buried in the Canadian War Cemetery in Calvados, France. In his family, every firstborn son is called Glenn in his memory. Only months before he died, Glenn Dickin arranged to have flowers sent home to his mother for Mother's Day. With them was a note in which he told her, "Don't you be worrying too hard. I'm a pretty capable person. Don't worry about me."
To find out more or to share your memories of D-Day, press the text button on your remote and go to page 423. Next Monday night at 9 o'clock, Tony Robinson leads a D-Day Time Team special from Normandy. Next tonight, Ian McEwan's tale of family secrets and weird science. Dennis Lawson directs his nephew, Ewan McGregor, in Solid Geometry.